Hi friends, you are welcome in this video. Friends, in this video we are talking about one of the famous forms of poetry, sonnet. How did sonnet evolve? How did sonnet come to England? What is sonnet and the very birthplace of sonnet? So all these things we are discussing in this video. So let's start the video. Let's start with the origin of sonnet. Now there is no fixed birthplace or the time of the origin of sonnet, but many scholars assume that the very form has been evolved in Italy and it is evolved in the latter half of the 13th century. The famous poet who practiced earlier this form is Dante, and after Dante we have most famous poet Petrarch, who used this form prolifically or extensively, and after that this form is known as the sonnet, or then we call it as Petrarchan sonnet. So friends, this form is evolved in Italy and then it spread later in the latter centuries to other countries in Europe. So the very meaning of the word sonnet is a little music or a strain. Now this word came from the Italian word called sonetto, and the very meaning of sonetto is a little strain or a little sound. So this is the musical quality of the word sonetto, and hence any sonnet or every sonnet contains this musical quality. We can find this musical quality through the rhyming and rhythm in the poem. So friends, in this way this form has been developed in the Italy, and this form has traveled from Italy to other European countries. In the first half of the 16th century this form came in England, and the very two persons or politicians who brought this form in England is Sir Thomas Watt and Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. So they brought this form in the England. Actually they went for Italy for some diplomatic reasons or some political reasons. They spent some days there, and when they returned to England they composed small or short poems in the Italian form, and later this form has been known as the English sonnet or the English poems. So friends, in this way this form spread in the Italy in the latter period. Now friends, let's understand what are the types or what are the forms or what are the kinds of sonnet. Actually it is very significant to recognize the type or kind of sonnet so that we can analyze. So it helps us in analysis of the sonnet. So the very first form here is the Italian sonnet or Petrarchan sonnet, or it is also known as the classical sonnet. Now in this sonnet we have a very particular structure. This sonnet is divided into two parts. The first part is octave, and in octave we have two stanzas. Each stanza is formed of 4 lines, and these 4 lines are called quatrain. Now there are 8 lines in the octave, and then we have second part sestet. In sestet we have 6 lines, as we have already said that a sonnet is comprised of 14 lines, or any 14 line poem is called as sonnet. And in this sestet again we have 2 stanzas, one stanza comprised of 3 lines each, and this stanza is called as tercet. Now it is a fixed structure of Italian or classical sonnet, that is octave and sestet. In octave we have 8 lines, in sestet we have 6 lines. And again there are 2 significant qualities of Petrarchan sonnet. The first quality is it has caesura. Caesura is a long pause or a very well marked pause after 8th line, or there is space between octave and sestet, and this space is indicated by the caesura or pause. And again the second feature or second quality is holta. Now holta is turn in the thought, and this turn in the thought generally begins in the sestet or in the very first line of the sestet. So this is one type, or this is the first type of sonnet, Italian or Petrarchan or classical sonnet. Now friends, it is significant to discuss the rhyming scheme of Petrarchan sonnet. Here Petrarch used this rhyming scheme ABBA for octave, and in sestet we have 3 variants. The very first variant here we have CDE, then second variant CDC, DCD, and the third variant we have CDE, DCE. So this rhyming scheme is significant to recognize whether it is Petrarchan sonnet or the other type of sonnet. So keep this rhyming scheme in your mind, or remember this rhyming scheme whenever you analyze any sonnet. This will help you in understanding and analyzing the particular types of sonnets. As Petrarchan sonnet or Italian sonnet or the classical sonnet, again we have second type, that is the English sonnet. And now friends, let's move to the second type or second form of sonnet. The second form is English sonnet, or it is also known as Shakespearean sonnet, because Shakespeare has used this form very extensively or splendidly, and he composed one of the finest sonnets in the English literature, and hence it is called after his name as Shakespearean sonnet or English sonnet. Now, what is the structure of this English sonnet? This, as we have already talked, that this sonnet has been brought to England by Sir Thomas Watt and Earl of Surrey, that is Henry Howard, and they have composed this sonnet in a particular form. They have composed these sonnets in 3 quatrains and a couplet. Now these 3 quatrains are unconnected with each other, and the same form is adopted by Shakespeare or other many English poets, and hence this sonnet has a very compact structure of 3 quatrains and a couplet. Now in that 3 quatrains we have a particular rhyming, as we have talked about the rhyming scheme of Petrarchan sonnet. Now here we have a particular rhyming scheme in Shakespearean or English sonnet, and as it is the unconnected 3 quatrains and a couplet, in the same way we also have unconnected rhyming scheme here, and the very rhyming scheme is in Shakespearean sonnet. Here it is AB first quatrain, CD second quatrain, EF third quatrain, and couplet GG. Now all these 3 quatrains are separate, or all these 3 quatrains are unconnected, but these quatrains are connected with the same theme or with the same thought, because in sonnet we have a single thought, or we have a single feeling or emotions that is expressed throughout the whole sonnet. Though these quatrains are separate, but the thought is same. So this is the second type of sonnet. And here, for example, you can see any of Shakespeare's sonnet, or there are many sonnets which are addressed to love, or generally we find that there are 3 dissections of the Shakespearean sonnet. First he addressed his sonnets to his friend, someone called W.H. Then he addressed his sonnet to a dark lady, and some sonnets are addressed to a rival poet. Generally the theme of sonnet is love. Any sonnet you can analyze for that matter or for example. Now friends, we have again a separate variety of the English sonnet, that is Spenserian sonnet. Edmund Spenser, one of the famous and significant poets of English, he composed sonnets and he changed the very structure of sonnet, and structurally we find that he connected all the 3 quatrains to each other, and we have there the connected rhyming scheme in the Spenserian sonnets, and the very rhyming scheme here we have in Spenserian variety of English sonnet, that is AB, that is AB, BC, CD, and the last couplet GG. Now when we look at this sonnet, we understand that this sonnet or these quatrains in the sonnet are connected. AB, again in the second quatrain we have the same rhyme BC, in third quatrain again CD, and the last couplet is separate, that is EE. Again the thought or the emotion is single, which is expressed throughout the sonnet. Just this difference we find in the Shakespearean variety. So friends, these are the major 3 types or forms or kinds of sonnet, and you will understand this sonnet when you remember the very rhyming scheme of all these 3 sonnets. For Petrarchan sonnet, you can have example of Milton's very famous sonnet, that is we have when the assault was intended to city. It is composed by John Milton, and a fine example of Petrarchan sonnet. In Shakespearean sonnet you have Shakespeare's sonnet, and again for Spenserian sonnets you can see the Spenser's sonnet for the analysis. So friends, this is all about 3 types. Now let's talk about or discuss about the very subject matter or theme of sonnet. Earlier in Elizabethan period, in Petrarchan period, these sonnets were addressed or composed on a particular theme, that is love. Generally sonnets were composed on love theme in Elizabethan, or if you see the Shakespearean sonnets, you find love is a very prominent theme. But when John Milton has composed sonnets, he widened the scope of sonnet, and for that you have On His Blindness, a different sonnet which is based on a different theme of very relationship of author with God. So this is different. Again, when you come to our period, you find that sonnets are composed on any theme. There is no any particular subject matter of the sonnet or particular emotion or a very special kind of theme. You can compose sonnet on any theme. So there is no limitation to the very theme of sonnet. So sonnets are composed in the range from the very earth to the sky. Any theme which is in this range, you can compose sonnets on that theme. So friends, this is all about sonnet, its origin and different types. Friends, if you think there any difficulty in this sonnets or the very lesson on this sonnet, you can comment in the comment box, so I'll try to answer your questions. Please like this video, share this video among your friends, and subscribe to Literature Simply, and also press the bell notification icon for the updates on language.